So yeah, you did said that he survived through the winter, and that's the one thing, right? I noticed he had no gloves on, and he still seemed to have all his fingers intact. So that's pretty remarkable. But surviving in the like not just in the winter where it's cold, but in the snow where it is wet as well, it's got to be terrible. So what's your experience photographing this and documenting this throughout the Hamilton winter?
Personally, it was an amazing experience, but I also felt a lot of like personal guilt from being able to put on like my Canada Goose jacket and my like Sorel boots, you know, going out with my expensive camera to go and, you know, document these people. There is something in my academic research that I'm really interested in talking about, and that is like art versus exploitation and the lines between that, right? We need to, as artists, make sure that when we're observers, we are just observers. That when we are going to, you know, participate in a situation, we're not negatively leaving anyone. We also want to make sure that we're not creating like a heroes complex where we're constantly, you know, leaving people with like large bribes to be in these photos and then leave them, and then there's a dependency on you. There's also issues of people coming basically to, you know, help people all the time, and then they become dependent on you and you just disappear after your project is over, after, you know, you get involved with something else. So there's many levels of, I think, like the social rules around it. And then of course there's the physical experience of just like being cold. Like I was cold taking pictures of these guys. I don't like using gloves with my camera settings in the wintertime. I like to be able to like actually physically still touch and use my camera. And after 10 minutes, I was like, oh, I had the thought of like, oh, I'm cold. And I was like, I can't believe I even had that thought. Like I was ashamed of myself in that moment to even have let myself like go in that direction mentally. One of the cool things about the exhibition of these photos that I'm excited about is that I am only keeping these photos up for 2 hours. In Hamilton, in the depths of our coldest winters, if you do not have any shelter, clothing, protection, personal protective gear from the elements, you can be dead within 2 hours on the street. So I really wanted to give pause to that and let the people know at the exhibition that, you know, this is a real thing, right? We are seeing actual real photographs of real people. This is a place that we live in. Excuse me. And this is an issue, you know, like right now. Like it's wintertime, we're all inside with heat, and these people are literally dying on the streets of exposure. You know, that happened over Christmas time. We had a huge storm in Ontario, and we lost people throughout the storm because there wasn't enough access to heat, right? And like those are little things that I think as a municipality, we should be able to fight more with warming centers. The city of Toronto recently had like a reduction in the funding for warming centers and an increase in the funding for some police access and like police funds. So as a collective, I think we also need to be seeing where, you know, we can help, where we can get involved, you know, how we're voting even. There's the winter is unforgiving and people literally die. Like the fact that the snow is even in that photo is amazing, but it's not showing how like heavy and wet and blustery it is. It's hard. It's a really, really hard life to be out there through the winter time.
I was just thinking of a ripple effect too. I mean, there's all sorts of cause and effect, right? There's all sorts of cause for example, in the like TTC, whatever we're reading about, like all the violence on public transit. But you talked about closing down warming centers, not having the funding for places for people to go to get warm or to get shelter. That's going to push them into public warm areas, right? So when you're getting, you mentioned people maybe with mental health issues or addictions, and you kind of force them to go to where everybody else is, where it's warm, then that can be exacerbate the issue even further. Yeah.
Yeah. There's two different things that happen to when those things happen. One, visibility, right? These people are living invisible lives, and visibility is one of the reasons that I wanted to document these people and share their experience. But also with that visibility can potentially come with like reinforcing stereotypes and reinforcing the social class system that we live in. So everything is a blessing and a curse. Maybe in a situation where someone needs someone or sees someone that needs help, someone who's more fortunate could help someone who's less fortunate. Amazing, fantastic. But also there's the situation of, someone trying to shield their kid, from going near someone who's unhoused, or shielding their kid from someone who they think might be in like an altered state of reality. And then they're telling their kid like, oh, that's a dirty person, or don't talk to them, they're dangerous. And now those stereotypes are being ingrained in the next generation. So it's a delicate thing, especially when it's freezing. Like I said earlier, these winters are hard. And that reminded me of one of the quotes from the people, where they said, these winters are hard. Even if you are surviving, you are alone. Surviving is having to live more. And it's interesting to me that there's this notion sometimes of like, oh, I wish I had the balls to kill myself. That was something that I felt from these people, like multiple occasions. Some people are more flat out about it. Like one person was just like, yeah, not having a roof, not having a floor, it really sucks. But then someone else who was slightly more graceful in their language and said, I wish I wasn't so afraid of death. And it's telling of the experience.
Yeah.